Om Gurave Namah. Namaskar. Today I will be having a short lecture on Panchanga. Many of you would know what Panchanga means. These are the what we call five limbs or five angas of time, and it's very important aspect of Vedic astrology or Jyotish. The five angas or Panchanga are namely Vara, which is the weekday, Tithi, which is basically the phases of the moon, uh, related to the waxing and waning phases of the moon, and each of the digits of the moon in that, which we know as Prathima, Dvitiya, Tritiya, and so on and so forth, of which we have Purnami, which is the full moon, the new moon, which is the Amavasya, and so on. Then we have Nakshatra, which are also known as lunar mansions in English. These are the 27 nakshatras, and in some schemes 28 nakshatras, which are how the zodiac is divided. Okay, and we have nakshatras like Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and so on and so forth. Okay, then we have Karana, and then we have Yoga. Okay, these are the five uh, limbs of time. Uh, Now, typically, these are used in, I mean, you would see typically their applications in terms of muhurtas. Okay, most of the muhurta classics mention, for various kinds of activities, what is the right muhurta to choose, and in that, what should be the right weekday, right tithi, right nakshatra, and so on. Rarely, if ever, they refer to karanas and nakshatras and yogas. Okay, but is that all to it? And that is what I'm trying to delve today, uh, because they have a, believe it or not, a lot of relevance to analyzing the birth chart, Jataka. Okay, so it's not just confined to Muhurta, it's also to be used in birth chart analysis. Now, when we talk about the five, anything related to five, in our culture, when these numbers are related, so when you think of Panchanga, what else which is important is also five in number. Okay, and that is the Tattvas or the elements. There are five elements. Okay, you have Agni, Vayu, Prithvi, Jala, Akash. Okay, Agni being fire element, Vayu being the air element, Prithvi being the earth element or the solid element, Jala being the water element, and Akash. Akash is called ether or something which binds all these different elements together. Okay, and there's an entire Srishti. If you go to Samkhya, there's an entire description of how these elements came in, which came first and which came later, and so on and so forth. Akash came first and Prithvi came at the end. So there must be definitely some correlation between the Panchanga and the Panchatattva, the five limbs of time and the five elements, right? Yes, there is. So you have the Vara, which is related to Agni Tattva or the fire. Tithi is related to Jala Tattva. Nakshatras are related to Vayu Tattva. Karana is related to Prithvi Tattva, and Yoga is related to Akash Tattva. This is the relation. Okay. Now, all this is fine and this is very theoretical, but how do we use it? And by the way, you talked about Vara, Tithi, Nakshatra a little bit. What is Karana really? Not many people talk about it much. Um, my Guruji, that is Shivisti Larson, he has, I believe, given a few lectures which are available on YouTube on the subject of Karana. Okay. In fact, my Param Guruji, Pandit Sanjay Rath, and Shivisti Larson, my guru and mentor, both have given a lot of lectures which are available on YouTube on these subjects. Okay. My intention in this video is just to create a bit of curiosity about this entire topic and how it can be used. But little bit on Karana. Karana, the word is related to Karana. Karana means the cause of something, why something comes into being, the reason. Uh, Karana is also, in Sanskrit grammar, you have Karana, which is the third vibhakti, okay, which is related to the instrumental case, okay, meaning something which is defining an instrument through which something happens, right? So what whenever something is an instrument, it is basically used to do some activity or some work, right? You use an axe to cut a tree, for example. So when we talk about instrument, we're talking about activity and hence some work. So the Karana is actually related to work, to career, and hence it must have some bearing to the 10th house, right? Hmm? So, and the Karana is related to Prithvi Tattva. Prithvi is that which keeps us on earth. Earth is the provider of all our resources, all our sustenance, all our food. And for getting food, we need to work, right? So you can see these linkages. Now, here is a chart of Indira Gandhi. Can we use these things? She was born on a Monday, so moon was a Varesha. Vara, we already discussed, is Agni Tattva, right? Um, Agni gives direction to life. What is the kind of direction she is getting? Because Agni is light. Light is giving direction. You can get the link over here, right? So, in her case, moon is her Lagnesha, right? So it is defining her character, her thinking, her approach to life in a big way, right? Just by being the Lagna Lord. And Moon is having very strong yoga with Saturn, which is the Atma Karaka over here, right? And Saturn, when Saturn is in Cancer, and you see this combination many politicians. This is there in the chart of George Bush, and I believe also in Bill Clinton. So many politicians will have that. Saturn in Cancer gives Raja Yoga. So this moon is this Varesha is straight away, and being the Lagna Lord, is straight away involved in a yoga with Saturn, which is giving her a Raja Yoga, and it is Saturn is the seventh Lord over here. So seventh house is our connect to people outside, so definitely it will bring her a very large level of connect, a huge level of connect with people outside. Hmm? Her Karana is Karana Lord is Mars, right? We just discussed about Karana being related to profession and work, and Mars is also her 10th Lord, incidentally. Interesting. And it is well placed from the 10th house also. And Mars is also her Arudha Lagna Lord, meaning Arudha Lagna is that which is our image or manifestation outside. Okay. So Mars is having very strong say in that. You see, Mars is, in Bhuloka, Mars is very important because we call Bhuloka as Mrityu Loka, okay, or Martya Loka, because people die over here, right? I mean, and hence you can actually experience and finish your karmas in this loka. That is why you are taking birth over here. And Mars is the cause for Mars is the killer, right? He's the one who likes to kill people. So that's what makes generals, for example, right? And no wonder she is someone who is seen in India as, I mean, she led us to our greatest victory in the history in the history of independent India. Okay, she was at the helm and played a great role in that process, right? Uh, and it was a great war which she effectively led India to victory in. That is what is being shown by this Mars over here. Her Tithi Lord is Venus. Venus is a good planet, a benefic planet, but you see, her Tithi is Shashti Tithi, Shukla Shashti. Okay, that is after the moon has passed 6 phases and is in the 6th day after that. So this is called the Shashti Tithi. S6 is the name over here, Shukla Shashti. And Shukla Shashti is a very warlike Tithi, because the Devata related to this is Lord Kartikeya, who is the Deva Senapati, the commander in chief of the divine army, the army of the Devas, right? He's also considered as a god of war, right? In fact, one of the greatest, if ever, military persons in the history of the world was Alexander the Great, uh, who has won several battles and who has expanded his kingdom significantly. I mean, they created the Greek Empire and so on. We don't know much about his birth details, but one thing historians there are very clearly agreed upon is that he was born on Shukla Shashti. He was born on Shashti Tithi, right? So it is a very warlike Tithi. I mean, not something you want associated with Jala, because Tithi is about emotions. Tithi is about relationships. Okay, all the people. It's not just your most important relationship, which is marriage. It is definitely that, a big deal of that, but it's all sorts of relationships, right? Now here, this Venus is one. There is the Shashti Tithi issue, which is very warlike thing. On top of that, this Venus is in sixth house. My God, sixth house is itself related to war, but Venus in sixth house is said to be in Marana Karakasthana. That is in a like a death inflicted state, death state. That is Marana Karakasthana. It's not a good position for a Tithi Lord to be in. And that too, it is with Rahu, which is a malefic, and Rahu is considered to be in debilitation in Sagittarius. The good thing is there's this Jupiter Venus Parivartana Yoga, which sort of maybe pulls this Venus out of this thing, but it still doesn't bode well, right? Venus is the Karaka for seventh house, and being in the sixth house, it's not good. It's not good for married life at all, and she didn't have a very happy married life, right? Her husband and she separated soon after the birth of her children, and she was very much focused on her work because she was supporting her father, and these were the initial days after the independence, and Jawaharlal Nehru was just he's become the prime minister, and Indira Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru's wife was no more. Indira Gandhi was the all in all in that time. She was taking care of her father in a big way, and she was actually doing the work over there. It was her work also. It was political work. Her father got her into politics, and this Venus is Amatya Karaka, which is related to work. Okay, so definitely work related concerns spoiled her domestic life. That is what we can see. So you can already see that there is a broad narrative. It's not specifics. You can't say this person, this relationship, this event, this position, and so on and so forth. But you can get a broad sense of a person's life. You can see mass related to the Karana. She was known. Indra is India is one of the famous statements made by one Congress leader. Uh, so she was, in a sense, a very strong leader, very assertive leader. She could hold her own, amongst powerful people like Richard Nixon, who was the president of the United States and who was so anti-India. She was someone who can put him in his place. Uh, you can see this Moon Saturn Raja Yoga politics, high politics, Raja Yoga over there. Um, and her nakshatra lord is her nakshatra is Uttarashadha. Okay, uh, that is moon is in the nakshatra of Uttarashadha. The lord of Uttarashadha is sun. It's given over here. Devaguru gives all these lords also very clearly. You can see here sun. Now nakshatra is related to our prana. Prana is the life force. It is not exactly the air we breathe in, but it is the life force which is coming through the air, the Vayu Tattva. And it shows how strong our life force is, and it also has a very important bearing on longevity. Okay, how long a person lives, how much prana this person has in their life. Okay, how much sort of breaths that we have in a very rough way, if I can put it. Now, sun is actually well placed over here. Okay, and it is in a very strong Parivartana Yoga with Mars, which is making sun even more stronger. One thing we can clearly say, she didn't live for a very old age because obviously she was assassinated. Uh, but one thing we can say for sure is she must have had a strong prana. And the prana is not just about the longevity aspect, it's about how much life force you can bring into being. This can also have a bearing on your health because it's related to breathing. Okay, the Varesha also has an important bearing on your health, but that is related to the Agni Tattva. That is more, I would say, related to metabolism or food and those sort of things. This is related to, you see, for living we need two things. We say prana and rai. Okay, prana is the life force through the air which is coming in, and rai is the food. Okay, you need to metabolize the food, use it, and also be able to uh, you know uh, remove the toxins or the waste material from your body, right? So both these aspects have to be there, and the air aspect, the breathing aspect, is shown by sun over here, which is pretty strong, right? I think it shows someone who can bear a lot of stress and strain and go through things, go through very tough situations, and she has gone through a lot of tough situations in her life and yet bounce back. You have that, your life force is so strong that you can overcome odds. uh, yeah, so we covered all of that. There is yoga. Yoga is related to the Akash Tattva. It is what binds things together. There are 27 yogas. Okay, just to give a sense, there are 7 varas, 7 weekdays, you know that. There are 30 tithis, 15 in the waxing phase and 15 in the waning phase. There are 27 nakshatras, and there's also 28 scheme including Abhijit Nakshatra. There are totally 11 types of Karanas, but there are 60 Karanas because Karana is half of a Tithi. Half of the span of a Tithi is called a Karana. And since there are 30 Tithis in a month, in a cycle of moon's phases, 30 into 2, there are 60 Karanas. Okay, but there are certain Karanas, types of Karanas, which get repeated again and again. There are 7 of these, hence they are called Chara Karanas because they get repeated. And then there are 4 which are called Sthira Karanas. Okay, so these are the number of Karanas, and the number of yogas are 27 in all, of which I believe there are 10 or 11 yogas which are not considered to be good yogas. And she was born on one of them, which is Ganda Yoga, ruled by Saturn. Okay, and Saturn is in the Lagna. Saturn in Lagna is also not good in another sense because it is in Marana Karakasthana. Like Venus is in Marana Karakasthana in 6th house, Saturn is in Marana Karakasthana in the Lagna. So, in that sense, it doesn't show something which can be held together. So, this shows a bit of imbalance, you know, in this entire Panchanga. Otherwise, barring, her Vara, Nakshatra, and Karana are pretty good. Tithi is not good at all, and neither is the yoga. Now, what you can take away from all of this is that you're getting an overall picture of a person's life over here, not the specifics, but an overall picture of the person's life. And then you take this further. Okay, you see, okay, Karna we know is related to career, and Prithvi Tattva, career, is related to 10th house. Okay, how is this Lord related to 10th house? Tithi is related to relationships. Relationships are typically 4th house because home, or 7th house, which is like related to spouse and other people in general, outside people outside the home. So people in home and people outside of home. These are the two broad relationships that we have. So this Tithi Lord must have a good relationship or good position from these houses, right? Nakshatra Lord is Sun, right? And so on and so forth. So this is, I don't want to delve into deep over here. I would request you to go through the lectures of my gurus on these topics, which are in great detail, believe me. There are also some lectures of Sanjay Gurji on PJCOA, which is PJC of America website, related to Vara and Nakshatra, and he's also given a couple of lectures on Hora. We didn't talk about Hora over here. Hora is not part of Panchanga, but Hora is considered to be Sukshma Vara. It's like a Vara. It is Agni Tattva, but it's of different kind. It has a bearing on wealth particularly and resources. So this is just a brief thing. I hope this was useful. Thank you very much.